Okay, well, I think that brings us to the end of our news segment. And we can hop into our Shang-Chi
Indeed.
review. Luke and I went and saw this in IMAX.
Look at that. See those notes I wrote?
He's got 2 bullet points, folks. You know,
Don't need any more than that.
my notes says review. What if episode 2? Oh no, I am way behind.
Still got to write down the notes for episodes 3 and 4.
For those of you interested, no one cares about this, but I'm gonna share it anyways because Tyler's not here and you're not gonna stop me. I use the same document every week for my notes. I just backspace, delete the bullet points, then re-enter it in. So yeah, clearly I haven't actually filled out any review bullet points for at least 2 weeks because what if episode 2
What was the last
one?
movie we reviewed? Suicide Squad?
The Paw Patrol movie. Yeah, Suicide Squad probably.
Paw Patrol's. Heard it's pretty lit though. This guy gave it a booyah.
Don't believe a word this man says.
I bet Claire would give it a booyah.
Not even. Oh, we should have asked her. She was down here before the show. Should have asked her.
We're terrible.
She's the target demographic for the Paw Patrol movie.
No!
We were the target demographic for, well, I don't know, one of the target. It's a Disney Marvel movie, Shang-Chi. Everyone is the target demographic. Yeah, Luke, what do you want to say? We'll start spoiler free. I think we will probably jump into some spoilers later on because it's just too fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So, what are your spoiler free comments on Shang-Chi?
I was really disappointed in Black Widow. So I felt like my hype levels had just shot down for everything. And What If, because Captain Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest, forgot about Shang-Chi until I texted you Friday or something. Like, hey, when are you seeing it?
Yeah.
So we went and saw it Sunday, which I feel like is kind of rare for us. We're usually more on top of things. And it just exceeded my expectations. I had an absolute blast. I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I think this is maybe my second favorite Marvel origin story. There are definitely movies in the Marvel universe that aren't origin stories that I like better than it, but I think it does a really good job at not falling into the same tropes and the same stuff that a lot of other origin movies from Marvel do. Trying not to spoil anything, but it does some things that are fairly unique or at least anti
Phase 1.
Phase 1. Yeah. It's decidedly not Phase 1 in intention and execution, and it does a really good job there. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the big thing going into it that I was really kind of talking about was the action, how they were pulling back the camera, it looked like. And they reminded me of like Donnie Yen and Jackie Chan and their movies, and like the bus fight sequence.
Yeah.
It's the first fight sequence, and you're just watching it, you're just like, holy cow.
And really
this is incredible.
The only fight sequence that's in the trailers.
Yeah. It's definitely the one they showed off.
It's the one they showed the most. There may be like brief flashes from it.
Unless you're watching the current TV spots where they're just like, here's the ending of the movie.
Oh, yeah, well.
Don't watch them, please. Don't watch them.
Yeah.
Man, come on, Marvel.
I think you're right, though. I think the action, not just in that scene, but in the others, they do a lot of pulling back. They still have some pretty fast cuts, but I think that overall it flows really well.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's just gonna happen. I feel like they're not filming it Hong Kong style, so
No. And to make it, I think, feel modern, otherwise it would feel very distinct, and all of the amazing choreography would be lost on a lot of people if there's not some movement to it.
Oh my gosh, though, can you imagine though if they did film it Hong Kong style? They just a Marvel movie. They show up and they're just like, "All right, we're gonna figure out this fight scene right here. Go."
Yeah.
Because that's how they did it. That's how they used to do it. I kind of want that now. Shang-Chi 2, Hong Kong style. But I loved the action sequence on the side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing down there, dog?
Gemma is joining us for the podcast today.
She's licking her chops. She's over there going. Anyway, what was I talking about?
I don't know.
The side of the building. Not just because there's like the cool movement and action and fighting and everything, but these guys decided to put it on the side of a reflective building.
Oh yeah.
And it just looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really enjoyed that fight sequence. I was kind of looking. I was trying to watch the action and kind of look for special effects tricks that they might have been doing.
Yeah.
And man, they did a really good job on it. I really like that one. Plus, just with the verticality of it and then moving all over the place and swinging in between everything.
Yep.
Man, that was good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was a really good action scene. I want to talk quick about the cast.
Yeah.
This is one of those rare movies that I didn't really feel like there was a weak link. I was very nervous
For Awkwafina.
about Awkwafina because, as we've talked about, even with Eternals, it's like,
The funny
character. And
she was funny.
She was funny, and it wasn't over the top. She wasn't over the top. She had a good arc. She wasn't just a one and done character. She was there through the entire thing, which I really appreciated.
She was even a like emotionally supportive character to the lead.
Yes,
which I thought was very nice and super important.
It was one of those where it definitely is. We don't get a lot of romance in the MCU, and this one like kind of teases it and teeters on it. And I think that was appropriate for a first showing of the characters, because it really isn't about her and Katie and Shang-Chi or Sean, but it's this family story that's way deeper between him and his father and other family members. And they focus on that, and Katie is there, like you said, as an emotional support who can also do some nice humor.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that and thought, everyone did a good job.
I was really impressed by Simu Limu, who got his job through Twitter, right?
Yeah. Tweeted at Marvel.
He did great. He was great. The standout, though, for me... Man, now here comes the name butchering. Darn. You can do better about looking this stuff up. I'm just gonna go with character names instead of actor names.
Oh, that's fine.
Wenwu, his father.
Yes.
He was so good.
Yes.
He was so good. Great villain, which I think is something that always makes the Marvel movies stand out, are the ones that have great villains.
Mm-hmm.
They just add so much more depth to the movie. And to have a character with motivations and he's bad, instead of just, I'm the bad guy because the story needs a bad guy.
And there's really
liked him.
We haven't seen too many. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head is Guardians 2 with a father figure that really, for good or ill, plays any like a connective tissue to the main characters, the plot of the movie and the main character's journey.
Yeah.
So much of the time it's my dad's dead, or I don't know what happened to my mom, or I don't know where I came from. And I appreciate that this was a character who had I know exactly, I don't know who I am. Like there's still that who am I as a character journey, but I know where I'm from, and confronting that is how I find out who I am.
More figuring out who I'm going to be. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I'm really, that's probably spoilers. I won't mention that. There are a couple, I don't consider this a spoiler, MCU adjacent cameos or appearances. They thought they were all done really well.
Agreed.
It was not so over the top to make it feel like, the MCU is invading this movie. No, like yes, it is in the MCU, but it is not. No, it's not on that Spider-Man level.
Yeah.
Really, it's just the Spider-Man problem for me. Where if
Disney just got to claim ownership of those Spider-Man movies somehow.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. But yeah, yep, good. There's one that's in the trailer. I won't mention just in case you haven't seen it. It's really, I was pleasantly surprised by how much we got, and there's one that's a total surprise, and really loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, really loved it.
Even like with the first one, really, with I don't know. I don't even know if it's a spoiler. With his sister.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know that was a character in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, my sister, and I was like, what? Sister? She's probably dead somewhere. Nope. She's a character in the movie. You know, it's like, oh, okay.
Another thing that I think this one does that sets it apart from a lot of the Phase 1, or maybe just
the
origin story for a superhero, is I feel like in a lot of other movies, his sister would be a character that comes in the sequel.
Yeah.
And it's like, nope, she's here. She's a big part of this. She has an important role to play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's a family. It's it's that family movie, and yeah, just really, really impressed. The other thing I want to mention is the rings themselves and magic. I again, I don't consider this spoilers. We could talk too far into it and get into spoilers, but I really liked how they used magic, and they blended the magic with some not quite spirituality, but in a way some kind of spirituality, which is that makes a lot of sense when you're talking about like a story from that area of the world, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did a really good job.
I'm really,
especially with some of the creature designs and stuff.
Yeah.
That comes in later in the film.
Regarding the rings, I thought the rings were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were used really well visually too, like how they would swing around.
Yeah.
Make little blasts, and he could do different stuff. But I'm hoping that people, I feel like they would see it coming through all the trailers, that the rings are not like they are in the comics.
Mm.
They're actual rings
in the comics. Yeah.
And they each have like different abilities. Whereas in this, they're just some crazy powerful weapon, and you can do different stuff, but they're never really explained.
Yeah. There's a lot of mystery.
Yeah. I'm hoping in a sequel. Please.
I was going to say,
I'm
stay around for
like
the end credits scene and the end credit scene, because there is a bit of some interesting things are teased.
Yeah, I'm hoping they'll go into the rings a bit.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice if they just weren't like, here's a weapon.
Yeah.
Because there's some crazy stuff, those rings, and I don't know everything about it. I had to kind of go into a research dive over the.
Well, we can talk more about that in spoilers here in a moment. Is there anything else you want to mention before we go into spoilers?
Some stuff is over CG'd, I think.
That's fair. It's a
Which
Marvel
is-
movie.
it's
That
a-
doesn't surprise me.
It's a Marvel movie. They do it in every single one.
Yeah, I think I've kind of come to accept it as a thing. Like it's no longer a negative because it's just
Yeah.
that's what a Marvel movie looks like.
I think when it becomes a negative with me, like there's a lot of CG in the third act. There's
Mhm.
magic stuff going on. But like then there's bits where they're just like standing in a field and I'm like, you're in front of a green screen. Just go out to a field, man.
Yeah.
Like you can't afford a field. You're Disney. But I guess also apparently this movie had one of the lowest productions budgets of all the Marvel movies. Maybe the
Interesting.
lowest, yeah.
Wow. It looks great for having a
Yeah.
low budget.
It looks fantastic most of the time. And then there's those bits like
Yeah.
field. It's like
It wasn't the
and then they zoom in super close. And it's like, man, were these reshoots and they're all in different spots?
oh yeah.
And so you just gotta fill in the background. It's like,
Yeah. No, I can see the over CG, the use of too much CG when I think back on it. And in the moment,
Like-
it's a big sitting in
Yeah.
that IMAX theater. It's a big screen. There's a lot to look at. I can kind of forgive it. I think the test will be. I say test. The litmus test for the MCU and how much CG it uses going forward is going to be Eternals. If Eternals gets the kind of praise that I think it will in terms of visuals, I think they may be a little more okay, like yeah.
yeah, but I bet this one's like at least got that field budget.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Be
Well,
like,
I
oh,
think-
we need a field? Here you go.
I think the performance of this one, just off this first weekend alone, is going to show Disney that yeah, we can give them a bigger budget for a proper sequel,
Yeah.
which is definitely already in the works. So
I just, it's weird to me too that they'd be like, this one's gonna get a smaller budget. We're not sure if it's gonna be as successful. Every single movie you make, if it wasn't a pandemic, makes at least $600 million.
Oh, yeah,
What do
yeah.
the Ant-Man movies make? Those are probably the lowest ones. Those are like 600-700 million, I think.
right.
Man, come on. Have a little faith. People love seeing your movies, man. Come on.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my only real gripe. Like even in spoilers. I can't think of another one.
I don't really have any negatives. I think, what you kind of talked about earlier, like coming off of I was pretty okay with Black Widow and coming having watched this one just this last weekend being like, "Oh wow, okay. Yeah, my expectations for Black Widow were low, I think, because I hadn't seen a Marvel movie in a year and a half." And wow, this one, I'm sure on a rewatch I'll be able to find some more nitpicks and negatives, but yeah, even the use of CG didn't really bother me that much.
Yeah. It's just something I feel like I'll nitpick until they fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it. But like, man, Black Widow to me just feels like they're like, we kind of have to make this
Yeah.
too far.
I do think when you talk about budgets, one of the interesting things we talked about a couple weeks ago with the Suicide Squad was how big of a budget it had, and that movie's not a huge movie by any sense of the imagination, and I'm wondering just how much a lot of those were practical sets.
One of the biggest
And I
Warner Brothers sets ever.
yeah, I have a feeling that
Well,
when it comes to
Marvel doesn't build sets. They put you in a green room.
No, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's so much more cost effective for them. They can get to all these different areas if they don't make them practical. They can make their movie feel bigger, like they went to more places when they do it that way. Just a hypothesis,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely. And I think you're 100% correct.
I don't know.
Instead of building a new set, they can say, you're filming on Warehouse D today.
Right.
Past C, before E.
There were some. It was interesting though. I did see in the end credits again. This is just me I noticed some things. There were, I mean, there were like we want to thank the Quebec National Film Institute, and I think there was an Australian one and New Zealand. So like there was some obvious you had to film somewhere, and there were definitely some places they went to film on location. It's not like the entire thing was green screen, but you're right in that they do a lot of reshoots on green screen. I would guess they do 98% of their reshoots on green screen. But then also, those places that don't have to be super specific, or there's some, there's a magical forest in this one. Probably not a real place.
What? No, bro, that was real.
So, all right.
We even made that joke after the movie.
We did.
No, they got those things on train tracks.
How did they do those? How those trees move like that? All right. What's your recommendation or rating? What's your rating and recommendation?
My rating is Booyah. And mainly because it's great all around. It's a lot of fun. Fantastic action. But then also, they just separate it from the larger Marvel universe overall.
Yeah.
So if you just want to go watch a crazy, awesome Chinese fantasy movie, you can go do it.
Yeah.
And that's that. You're done. You can wait for the sequel, which will probably be more tied in. But it felt so standalone. And I think that makes it so much better.
Yeah. Agreed. I will also give it a Booyah. This is one of those movies that if you can get out to the theater and safely see it, highly recommend you do that.
Yeah.
It is absolutely worth it.
If you're not willing to go out and just gonna wait for it on Disney Plus or something, get that sucker day one.
Yes. Yep.
Because it's worth it.
It is. It's very good. Yeah, like I said, almost like no nitpicks.
Man, I really want to go see it again. I want to see it with Tyler because I know he hasn't got to see it yet.
Oh yeah. Steph and I will go over and we'll hang out with Dana, and you and Tyler can go.
We'll wait a bit. I mean,
not day one, not tomorrow.
Right now. We're skipping work tomorrow, Tyler. Let's go.
I remember here's a funny rabbit hole story. I remember when our daughter Claire was born, and she was in the NICU for like 2 months. And like, could you spend every living moment in the NICU? I suppose you could. We did not. I mean, we spent a lot of time there, don't get me wrong. But, like, it was kind of nice. We could still go to movies that year.
Yeah.
In October and November. And, like, because we could take, like, before we go over to the hospital to go spend the evening with her, we'll, go see a movie and then go over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
How long was this movie?
Tyler won't have that ability. It did. Okay, maybe that is a nitpick. It did feel a little long. I think the second act is maybe a tad drawn out, or maybe just a little slow. They do a lot of character building in there, which I really appreciate. But there is a lot in this movie, as it does try and cover a bunch of ground.
It's explaining a lot of the world.
It does a lot of world building. Yep.
What's the time?
I want to say it's like 2 hours, 12 minutes or something like that. It's not crazy.
Oh, dang it.
It's not like that Snyder cut.
Whoa. Shots fired. That is the best movie ever.
Okay, let's talk about
213.
213, okay. So yeah, it's not terribly long. I do think the middle maybe feels just a hair long, but nitpick there.